much. I feel like I just
No, that's okay.
Oh my god, drop.
drop a like. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button.
Hey guys, welcome to Unique Hangouts. If you don't know what Unique Hangouts is, it's basically a show where we just talk about the current topics and current situation regarding MCO 2.0 or just generally everything. Today joining me is Prem with his very fancy hat and Andrea with some crazy fancy fairy lights in the background. If you've never been here, don't worry, because I've never been here too. This is my first time and this is our first episode here. Thank you for joining us. And our special guest today is Colleen. Colleen is a mixed martial artist, a model, and as well a vegan athlete. I hope you're going to enjoy the conversation that we have. And let's get right into it.
Hi, Colleen.
Hi Colleen.
Hello.
So for those of you who are watching us who don't know Colleen, you want to give a little bit of a background about yourself, Colleen? What do you do?
Is this live or is this pre-recorded?
No, it's just
Pre-recorded.
recorded.
Just recorded.
Yeah, it's just recorded. Don't worry. You just want to tell everyone about yourself. What do you do and stuff like that?
Hi everyone. I'm Colleen. I'm an amateur MMA fighter and a personal trainer. That's it.
I guess I went a bit over on the intro there.
I don't know.
Come on, Colleen. Okay, fine.
No.
I will do the intro for Colleen Augustin. Oh no, wait, you have the intro for Colleen Augustin. You can do that.
Alright, so this was how I did the intro. I said, hey guys, we're gonna welcome Colleen on board today because she is a mixed martial artist, a model, and a vegan athlete. Are those true or are those false?
It's not false. I just didn't realize I was required to do an actual introduction. That's why I felt like being put on the spot.
Yeah, that's
No,
fine.
no.
Colleen, I'm gonna put you on spot. So, Colleen, how's it been? With the whole since the government announced the second MCO, how you managing and handling that being at home? Because we went from the first MCO, and suddenly everything started easing out slowly, and then now we're just right back into it. So how are you managing?
It's been okay. I think it's exactly the same as before because it's not like all of you have been through this before, so it's not like we didn't prepare for it before. So for me, it's just the same thing, going back to training in the front of my house and everything like that. The only difference for me is that this time I managed to get hit with the viral fever. So I've been lying down on the floor for 3 days.
For those of you who don't know why Colleen lies down on the floor, it's because she doesn't have a bed.
I do have a bed. My
Go,
bed is
Colleen.
up there.
Up there in the cage.
Is it a bunk bed?
Huh?
Is it a bunk bed?
Yeah, it's like a bunk bed. So it's up, no bottom. So bottom is my closet.
Oh, so it's like a loft. It's like a loft bed thing.
Yeah, loft bed. Yeah, that's correct.
So, how has this MCO 2.0 or just generally this MCO has affected you personally and what you're doing throughout, as your career?
I mean, it's kind of put my career on a standstill because I kind of had a 5-year plan on my career on how I would develop myself as a fighter to, going from amateur to professional. And with this second lockdown, it seems like my plan is kind of drifting far, far away in a sense. So I kind of had this kind of plan where I wanted 2020 to be the year that I would become an amateur world champion. I would settle for another 10 more fights in 2020. And I would have about 20 over amateur fights under my belt. And I thought that was a good experience record before turning professional in 2021. That was the gist of the idea, but considering I haven't fought since November 2019, it seems like I have to start rethinking everything because I'm not getting any younger as well, and that is something that is concerning me in my career very much.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
on that note of becoming the world champion, Colleen, you represented Malaysia. Was it Asian World Open or what was it called?
I'm off.
I'm off. Yeah. You want to tell us a little bit about the whole journey and you how'd you get to representing Malaysia and you being there? Because you got second. What's your second place or third place or something, right?
Third in the world, yeah.
Yeah. So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
I mean, quite frankly, Prem, you were part of it too.
Yeah, I mean, I was a part of it, but like Nick and Andrea, Nick and Andrea don't know anything, and everyone else watching. I was like,
I
wow.
wasn't at the cage, like, you know.
Yeah. So you want to tell everyone who's watching a little bit about how it started, and then like to you representing Malaysia, and then when you were in Bahrain, it was in Bahrain, right?
Yeah, the World Championships were in
Yeah. So and then the whole Bahrain trip and all.
I think it was quite. Honestly, 2019 was a very unexpected year for myself, especially because I just came back from injury. I stopped training at the end of 2018 for about 2-3 months. I only started training back in February 2019, and from that on, I was quite surprised when I was able to be back on my feet in half the time the doctors expected. I remember preparing for a fight, my first fight for 2019 after my injury. I was supposed to be fighting Octagon MMA, Octagon Asia. I was supposed to be fighting there as the only women fight. Coco was the one that told me. He's like, oh, I got a call. They want you to fight for Malaysia as the Asian Open. Then I was looking at him like, but we have another fight at the same time. And we were like thinking about it, and I looked at him and I was just like, so what should we do? This is such a big opportunity. He's just like, fuck the small fight. Let's just go for that one. It's like, I know you just came back, but this is a huge opportunity. Let's just fuck that one off. We'll just go for that one. It'll give you more time to practice and everything like that. So we did that. Prepared straight away. I came back. I straight started preparing for the Asian Open. Very thankful for that one because I remember when I came back, we were all like, Prem, you were preparing I think a lot of us were preparing for fights too. You guys were preparing for a Muay Thai or kickboxing fight around the same time. So it was perfect for me to just come in and blend in with you guys with the training and everything like that. And, having you guys around, of course, really helped with the motivation and all that. Because, we're screaming at each other like, come on, do more. And coming home with that gold medal, being able to go to Bahrain, that one I have to thank everyone, to be honest, because I was very worried about my financial situation to go to Bahrain because it was a very expensive plane ticket. But not only that, the registration fees was a lot. It was like $860 per person, just registration. And registration, of course, includes stay and all that, but I had to pay for me and my coach. So I had to think of nearly $1,700 to cover both of us. And I had to think about the flight that I could afford for both of us, which would have come up to maybe 4,000 ringgit. In the end, a private sponsor actually came up to top up everything, which actually eased my worry a lot because I think 2-3 weeks before the fights, I was already like, I still don't have enough money. What am I going to do? And she just came out of nowhere. I was just like, I don't want to be known. I want to help you. So this is how much I'm going to give you. This is how much you need, right? So she gave it to me and said, I bought you your flights and everything. Don't worry about it. Just go and fight. And that relieved a lot of pressure as well. And I learned a lot fighting on that international stage. Being able to compete with people around the world. Usually that's when you're professional. When you're professional, that's when, you go to promotions and you get to fight people from different countries and regions. But then as an amateur, I got the opportunity to fight people from all around the world. And I remember being there the first day at the hotel and I was just like, I see so many flags. I was like seeing 50 over different countries just in one location, like so many different places. It was just like, wow, especially at the opening ceremony, I was just like, there are so many athletes here. It's so amazing to just see that, how big it is. Because like for Malaysia, we brought like 3 people. We only brought like 3 athletes.
Represent.
It was you, it was Brendan,
and Jay,
right?
Kid, he fought under junior, and then Brendan and I fought under senior. And it was just 3 of us like holding the Malaysian flag, And then you walk in and there's 3 of us just there, and then everyone is just like in big groups. You see Kazakhstan with like 30 athletes. 30 over athletes just there in their like, their tracksuits and everything.
Yeah.
Their uniform.
Yeah.
And then you see like England in their uniforms and everything. South Africa was there also, and you see them like all registering in like all so formal, so uniformed, and we're just like, this is like 3 of us just sitting together like, oh my god. I was like overwhelming, but it was like, wow, this is how big MMA is around the world. Because we only see it in Malaysia, and we see it as, it's small, it's not very developed. But then when you go overseas and you see that, and you're just like, this is actually way bigger than we thought it was. Here it's small, but around the world, when you leave the country, it's huge. France had like 20 over athletes, junior and senior, 20, 30 over athletes. Mexico sent over like 30, 40 athletes. It was a huge team. And I was like, these people literally flew halfway across the world just to compete here. But yeah, it was just like, seeing so many athletes and all that. And it was honestly quite, I learned a lot. And it made that, I feel like that tournament really opened my eyes to a lot of things, where I realized a lot of holes in my game. But not only that, like, whereas in Asia, I'm usually quite big in my category. Like, I'll be fighting at strawweight or atomweight, and I'll be considered big or tall. Whereas I'm there, and then I'm just like, goodness, I am the smallest one here. And I don't see it that obviously until I see the photos afterwards, and then I'm just going like, oh my god, actually I do look way smaller than them. Like, what? I can see the difference now. I can see why they say Asians are small. I didn't feel small in the cage. I didn't feel small. I felt their strength though. And I was like, they're so skinny, but like they look so small, so skinny. They're tall, but they're so strong. And I was like, wow, to have someone in my weight class to have like a lot of strength, I was just so surprised, especially from a girl in my weight class. And I mean, the 5 days in Bahrain, first time ever, fighting 5 days in a row was brutal. After the second day was just a 4-round war. It was just 4 rounds. And after that, I went back. I remember my ribs were bruised. My ribs were badly bruised. Everything hurt. Coco put me in an ice bath. Like, he just submerged me in the ice bath immediately. He didn't give me any time to think. So you're gonna stay here until you're okay. So like 20, 30 minutes, like 20 minutes to put me in there. And usually I would like to like move around a bit the night before, but I was so exhausted from that fight that I couldn't even drill or do anything. The next morning I woke up, I remember I needed to sweat out 1 kilo in the morning to make weight. And Coco usually makes me do like hip escapes, all these kinds of MMA drills to sweat everything out in my sweatsuit. And I remember every time I tried to like curl my body, it hurt so bad. I was looking at Coco like, I can't do this. It's like, can you do jumping jacks? I was like, I can't. So I just started doing jumping jacks because I couldn't do a push-up. I could even do a normal push-up to sweat because it hurt so bad in my ribs. I couldn't do anything, and I was just like, I can't even move, I can't skip, I can't do anything, it hurts so bad. How am I going to fight today? And he was like, don't worry about it, go into the sauna. So he stuck me in the sauna. He's like, you're going to sweat it out for 15 minutes, you're going to come out with 1 kilo weight. I made the weight, and I remember going to the medics, and I was just like, because every morning after we weigh in, we have to go to medical, and medical will assess the situation whether we can fight or not. So if you cannot do something that they ask you to do, they will say you can't fight. They are that strict. So every morning we have medicals, and one of the things was you have to do a squat, you have to do a knuckle push-up, just one. And I remember going and doing that one push-up, coming up and looking at it and saying, does it hurt? And I was like, no. I was just smiling at her, going like, no.
Smiling through the pain.
Yeah, I was just smiling through the pain. And she was like, okay, you can go now. And I got like my medical like cleared off, all good. And then I went, like Coco was like, I remember Coco and Brandon was like, how did you pass? I was like, okay. It
Wow.
wasn't her. I was so
Colleen's not
mad.
just a fighter. Colleen's not just a fighter, but she's a spirit fighter as well.
I was not gonna fly halfway across the world to be sent back home packing just because I have a rib injury. Like, nah.
Yeah, that's true determination, man.
And yeah, like I was saying, I was literally zoning out. I was so tired. Like my mental was so tired on the third day. Coco was like, okay, your fight is not yet time. So after we literally warmed up already, I'm sweating and everything. And then he's like, okay, you're gonna take a 15-minute nap. And I was like, what? He's like, you are going to take a 15-minute nap right here. I was like, okay. And I took a 15-minute nap. I just straight away passed out. I slept on the mats, and then someone came and called us to tell me it was my turn. And then he woke me up, and he was like, how do you feel? And I was like, I felt the most refreshed. Like so refreshed. My mind was alert. I could see everything. I was understanding everything. Like everything was receptive. I was like, wow, that was actually a very really good advice. I remember I came out of that fight and I just started crying because I've never been held against the cage so strongly that I really couldn't do a lot of things. Like I was trying every technique I knew in my head, everything I've learned. I knew so many things. Okay, if someone puts you in this situation, you do this. And I was trying every single thing and it didn't work because she was so strong. And after that, I was just like crying because one, I was so thankful I went to the semi-finals. But another thing, I was so frustrated that I was like, how is it that none of my techniques work? All of this have worked so far for me for the past 2 years, every fight. And now suddenly nothing's working. And then, of course, I had no time to think because I had to go back, do another ice bath, recover and everything like that for the next day for the semi-finals. And the semi-finals, I would say, like, honestly, was something that till this day is still like the biggest lesson for me. Even throughout the entire time in Bahrain, I was calling my brother every day. I was always after every fight, I would go home and I'll go back to the hotel room and I'll call Nick and I was like, did you watch that fight? What do you think? What was the mistakes? I would call him because I knew Professor and Mehdi were talking to Coco, so I was like, let them do the coach thing. And I was like, I would talk to Nick and I was just like, okay, I'm stressed out right now, all these kinds of things. So I would always call him the night before because I would always knew who I was fighting the next day. And I remember I was stressing out so much for the semi-finals because this girl I've heard so much about, that she was really good, and I feel like I kind of let that get into my head a little bit. I remember calling Nick saying like, this girl, I think she was the world champion from the year before or something like that.
Yeah, she was. Because I remember we were all talking about it.
Yeah, first or second place. And I was like, talking to him and he was like, calm down. He's like, calm down. You're thinking too much about it and all that. Like, so what? You said that as well at the Asian Championships, the girl that won the year before. And then you beat her. So he was just like calming me down and all that. And next day, I woke up and everything like that. But the strange thing was that I was super nervous for that fight, especially because I was this close to getting to the finals. So that was just what we all wanted. And I still remember that fight, and I rewatched that fight all the time to find my mistake. Like, I still can't find the mistake that I was doing, besides the fact that I took her down because I was told that she was a striker, and I was just like, oh no, that's the dumbest decision I could have done. I didn't know she was a jiu-jitsu girl. And I was just like watching that fight, but because of that fight, that really taught me a lot, like a lot of things in my game as well. And it's like, it's okay that I lost. Now I can say that during that time I was crying my eyes out for like 2 days. You can ask Brendan and Jay.
Yeah.
They will attest to that. I was crying from the moment I lost all the way home in the hotel room. I was crying the whole day. Even Brendan and Jay tried to like get me out of my room. They were like, come, let's go to the pool. After a whole day of that, I was just like, okay, you know what? I need to find out what was the mistake, and I need to go back and fix it. But for now, I can't do jack shit about it because I'm in Bahrain. So I might as well just, enjoy the time that I have here, just go around or whatnot, meet other athletes and stuff like that.
Did you make friends with the girl that beat you?
I did actually. I mean, she didn't really speak much English.
Oh, right.
I remember.
Where was she from?
She was from Ukraine.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I remember telling her coach, I was like, she's a very strong girl. She's really good. Honestly, she beat me fair and square, and I made a mistake, and she took advantage of it. So she was the smarter one that day, so I have to accept it as it is. But I remember telling myself, you know what, you've come this far, might as well enjoy the moment because you're on the podium.
Was that your first international podium?
Very much, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you should have enjoyed it at least. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was good. That was good, man. Honestly, like I feel like this story is awesome because you went like you said, like everyone else went with bigger teams and only Malaysia went with like 3 people. So I guess it wasn't about the quantity, but I guess it was about the quality. You get what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had good friends and good teammates as well that were supporting me. Like I remember one of the first things was after I lost, when I went back to hotel room, I was like, my first thought was to tell like you, like Prep, you, Andrea, and all. I was just like, I was gonna say like, I'm so sorry, guys. That was the first thing I was gonna say. I was apologizing to everybody. I was just apologizing to Professor. I was apologizing to Medi. I was apologizing to like all of you. I was just like, I felt so bad because you guys like helped me so much in that year. You guys prepped me for my Sanda fight. You guys helped me for my Muay Thai fight, my kickboxing, all my MMA fights, and then pushing me to Bahrain. Like you guys were the ones that were sparring with me every day to make sure I could make it to Bahrain in one piece, to make sure I was good and everything like that. And then I was like, I felt like I let all of you down, and I was just like so sad. I was just like, I'm so sorry.
I think that day you were like trending on Facebook and Twitter and everything on Instagram. I think that day you were just trending. Like you were all over Facebook, all over Instagram. Everyone was just sharing everything, Colleen. Like people I don't even know were sharing stuff about you, Colleen.
I didn't know. I couldn't look at my social media. I was just so sad. What?
People don't know. I mean, just congratulating you and stuff like. But you know, you were very sorry because you even posted. I mean, like you said, like to us, like to the team who brought you, Professor and all that. You were apologizing to us. So we were having conversations with you personally. But for those of them who don't know you personally, they were just sharing and congratulating you. You know, they were like super happy. I think literally all over Facebook and all over Twitter, like everyone's like, "Oh my God, Colleen Augustin! Oh my God, Colleen Augustin!" Then you also mentioned, like, you know, when you were walking there, you said that like you saw the team of like 30, you saw the team of 20. Malaysia, you only had 3, right? So like, what do you think is like preventing us from sending more people over?
I think because one of the things about IMAF that I've noticed is that you have to be very
financially stable.
One thing I noticed is not how you don't qualify for the World Championships. I would like to think that's how it works because it makes so much more sense for it to be that way. Not just anybody can just sign up for the World Championships and compete, but that's exactly how it is. Whereas because we have rankings, so the more fights you fight in IMAF, the higher your rankings are. Of course, if you come out champion every time you fight, your rankings are definitely higher. But to have that ranking, it just means that if let's say there's an extra person in your bracket, you are the one that gets the what's that thing called? Turnover. Like you get the free pass. So if you're I'm the one with the higher ranking, I get the free pass because I earn my right in the higher ranking. But then to qualify for the World Championships, you don't qualify. It's not like how I used to compete in Spartan. In order to go to the World Championships itself, you have to qualify. So you have to qualify. The top for them is top 5 in your region, top 5 in your country or region, and then you will get an invitation letter to compete in the World Championships. That's how it worked. Whereas in IMAF, it was different. It was, could you afford to pay? So there could be athletes out there that are really, really good but can't afford to pay that kind of money. Because imagine Mexico, you are paying one athlete $860, and then you have to pay for a flight halfway across the world. How much is that going to cost them? And if your association or your your federation can't afford to send that many people, then there won't be many people to send as well. You have countries like England and France who have developed MMA so much that they do have the financial capabilities to actually send that many athletes and coaches to go there.
I think generally, like, it's not just for MMA. I think like there's a lot more sports in Malaysia who actually go through the same thing as well. And I feel like a lot of them, we actually have a lot of good athletes here in Malaysia, in all sorts of sports, but we just don't have the opportunity to go overseas to further expand that capability because of financials, mostly because of financials, like,
Yeah,
because
that's
everything, most international competitions are all in USD, and I think because of the conversion rate and everything as well, it's very expensive for us to send many athletes there. But I hope soon we'll be able to fix that situation, and more Malaysian athletes will be able to represent the country and eventually put us there, put us out there in the world athletes, like,
I feel like a lot of athletes have to do like what Nicole David does. A lot of of our national athletes have resorted to do what Nicole David does, which is literally to leave the country.
No.
Like, you don't depend on the government. That is honestly the best way to go at this kind of point.
That's unfortunate that Malaysians have to actually leave the country to get better. Like, I feel like that's kind of sad. I mean, it's like, besides like fighting and stuff, even like in the music industry, like Yuna had to leave so she could like get better. It's like unfortunate that people have to leave Malaysia in order to like get higher or like improve in their career.
I mean, it's sad, but it's the truth though. That's just how it is.
It's just
Another thing is, are you daring enough to leave the country like that?
That's true.
Like what Nicole David did when she was in her prime, like not many people did that.
So going back to your 5-year plan, right? Since we've like had to go through COVID and everything, what amendments would you say you've made to that plan in order to reach your goal?
I mean, in this time also, it's like, I mean, with the long break, it's given me a lot of time to reflect also on my decisions and what I've done so far and what I want to do. It actually gave me a lot more time to think about what I really want in my future, because I realized that I was constantly following and listening to other people. I had a lot of people telling me what to do. I had a lot of people telling me, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this, you should fight in this promotion, you should fight in that promotion, you should do this, you should do that. And not once did I ever thought to sit down and think and reflect and ask myself what I wanted for my career. Yeah.
But yeah, generally just speaking, like, honestly, I feel like, I think you have the potential to really make it big, and I think the people who have fought with you, your coaches, and I think everyone, I'm sure that you have the opportunity to make it big. But if like, let's just say if MCO or this whole COVID thing never happened, I think there would be a higher chances of you really improving your game.
Yeah.
But it is what it is right now. And how have you been able to? Did you pick up some new skills or like new methods during this time to kind of accommodate back to your 5-year plan?
I don't think that five-year plan is very feasible right now. Like, if you talk about creating smart goals, it has to be timely and achievable. Right now, in this timely method, it is not achievable the way I want it to be. So with the kind of promotion that I want to be signed into, this time frame is not possible. I would say, like, I'm optimistic. Like, if it happens, I'll be more than happy, but I need to create a plan B also. With this kind of lockdown, all I can really do is kind of make the best out of it. Like, anybody who asks me is like, I'm trying to attend online jiu-jitsu classes with professor. It's not much now of keeping fit. So keeping fit is something I do on my own time. I'll do my workouts, I'll do my rehabilitation to make sure that I'm keeping myself in shape. Honestly, now it's just not more of learning new things, but just making sure that what you already know isn't forgotten. So it's more of like keeping my fitness up, making sure I don't forget my movements, I don't forget my techniques and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, it's gonna be hard because if you don't you don't get to practice, it's hard for you. It's very easy for you to forget the techniques, but I think as long as I keep practicing, like shadowing, like shadow boxing or shadow jiu-jitsu, you're doing all those hip escape drills and stuff like that, it will help one way or another. The only thing we can do is just make the best out of it.
You're saying that you do on maybe online jiu-jitsu, right? And I've also done a couple of the online classes. That's a skill on its own. Because training in the gym and then training at home, watching somebody online and doing it is like a whole different skill that you have to pick up.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like once you know jiu-jitsu, it's not that hard because you're not doing with the person. It's like solo drills. But if you're a newbie into jiu-jitsu, and then you have nobody in front of you, and professor is going like hip escape to hip bump, then you're just like, huh?
Exactly.
All the new people for solo drills, they're just
So basically, Prem's a newbie lah. He's not used to the online classes. He doesn't know jiu-jitsu.
So everyone essentially knows you as like a super famous athlete, Colleen.
Yeah.
But not a lot of people know that you're actually a vegan athlete. Yeah, because I think you were at one point the only female vegan athlete, right?
No,
in MMA, I think.
In Malaysia.
Yeah,
in Malaysia.
Yeah, in Malaysia, yeah.
In Malaysia, possibly. I don't know actually.
Yeah, because I remember at one point, like you were the only. Okay. I'll give you a different title. You were the only vegan athlete that we knew.
Yeah. That's accurate, bro. That's accurate.
Yeah,
but I think not many people, not many athletes that we know of or are in the face of public are actually like vegan athletes. So yeah, tell us about that a little bit. Tell us a bit about
you weren't always a vegan, right?
Yeah.
You were like, you only recently were a vegan, like maybe 4 years ago?
3 years, yeah.
3 years ago? Okay.
Yeah, Andrea, you knew me like way before.
Yeah, I knew you way before that.
When you were a vegetarian.
If you didn't know, I think Andrea was a vegan at one point as well, right?
Andrea was a vegetarian.
Yeah, it went from vegetarian to vegan, and then back to vegetarian, and then pescatarian, and then back to just eating regular meat.
Went vegan, and it's like, no, I need to...
I was a vegan for like a month.
One month,
and then the only reason why I wasn't a vegan.
I couldn't believe it. Like I think just last month we saw Andrea like whacking like a whole rack, like whoa. Colleen, tell us about your transition, man. Like from being, like from the everyday meat eater to a vegan. I don't know if that's the right term. Everyday.
What made you want to be a vegan?
Yeah, and then how did you like handle being an athlete as a vegan?
Yeah.
It's so funny that you're asking me this. I literally just did a plant-powered panel discussion just last weekend, just on Saturday.
Oh,
nice.
All of plant-based athletes, a fighter, dancer, bodybuilder, triathlete, and a swimmer. Like 5 of us were just like on the panel discussion talking about this. I
think I saw that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. It's been three years. Yeah, it's been 3 years. I became a vegan to end of September 2017. I remember very, very vividly because I remember what transpired. And honestly, to my career, I always believed that if you do what's right, like you do what's right in your heart and in your mind, your soul, everything, if you know what you're doing is right, everything will fall into place. So at the time, even though I already had an athletic career, I didn't really think, maybe it was my naivety or it's just me. I just thought that if I did what was right for myself, that everything will work out. And praise the Lord, it has worked out so far. And I remember it was, I didn't really transition in a sense. I didn't have that slow. Like most people, like, oh, I cut out meat and then I cut out fish and stuff. I actually turned. Once I made the decision, I switched overnight.
Wow. So you just woke up and be like, I'm vegan now.
I'm vegan now. No more meat for me.
I was thinking about it for quite a while. I was researching and all that. I don't like to make into decisions until I know what I'm getting into.
Is it tough for you to find food on Grab or Foodpanda?
Nowadays, no. I feel like I live in a day and age where, like, vegan food, vegetarian food is so easily accessible. There's such a thing as vegan pizza. 20 years ago, there wasn't such a thing. There's vegan burgers. There's vegan gummy bears. There's vegan so many things now that it's like there is no reason not for you to. You know, there's vegan cheese. Like 20 years ago, when like in the 80s and 90s, when the hippies were the vegans, like these things didn't exist. You know, we live in a day and age where everything you have so many options now. So honestly, it's not that hard. I mean, if you're gonna eat like processed food and stuff like that, people say like being a vegan is very expensive, but I highly doubt so. But if you eat like plant-based, which is like what you buy from your local farmers, potatoes and all that, you can't tell me that's expensive. Buying a kilo of rice is so cheap. I just go to like the kedai runcit. I was like, pakcik 1 kilo of rice. I bring my container there. Like, it's so cheap and it lasts you for so long. So honestly, it's because vegetables and grains and all that are like one of the cheapest items I would say in the market that people tend to overlook. Like tempeh is like 1 ringgit for like 1 block.
Oh damn! One block of tempeh.
Tempeh is 1 ringgit. Some places is 1 ringgit, maximum 2 ringgit for 1 block.
Damn, that's pretty cheap. That's actually not too bad. So shout out to the 80s and 90s hippies for paving the ways for vegan people.
For vegans.
Though some of them can be a bit crazy though. I'm not gonna say
Okay.
some modern
Some-
day
Some
can be a
vegans
bit
are pretty
crazy.
in your face.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Which is-
I think
Yeah.
I think everything that you do, there's always gonna be the people who do it, and there was always gonna be the
Yeah.
extremists
I feel like
who do certain things.
I feel
you know?
like
yeah.
those people have kind of put like a bad name on veganism because they're always like in your face and they're like, oh, why are you eating meat? Because like you're such a bad person, you're killing these animals. And I think that's why some people are kind of put off being a vegan. You know what I mean? Because they're like, you guys are kind of
Vegans.
like, whoa, man.
I call them elitist vegans.
You call them elitist vegans.
Well, there's always gonna be extremists in everything that we do. So it's either how much you want to persevere through it, or how committed you are to certain things.
I
But
kind of like had an experience with a vegan like that. But I wouldn't say she's like super extremist. She's actually one of my friends. She's also a vegan.
Is her name Colleen?
Yeah. So she only recently became vegan. She only like went vegan like last year, I think. So we were out eating, right? So my meal had eggs. So I was about to put the eggs in my mouth, and she was like, "Stop! Do you know the chicken period?" I'm like, "What?
Oh my
How
god.
am I supposed to eat my food now?"
It's always the newbies. It's always the
Yeah. I told
always
you
the
exactly.
newbies.
I think she was only like a couple months in being vegan that time, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Now I'm supposed to just enjoy my meal, knowing that I'm eating period."
I'm not a eating period.
So now since with not being able to fight and stuff like that, right? So you do a lot of modeling. I mean, it's freelance modeling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you just want to tell us about how you got into there, and then how's it been doing that? Because I know
I
you.
saw you did one recently, right? With Kalai.
Yeah, Kala is also a friend. So you
Shout out
just
to Kalai.
yeah. Shout out to Kala. Yeah, I know. Just tell us like, what made you go into modeling and how's it been and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've always been interested in modeling, I guess, since I was quite young. I remember I was like 9 years old. I used to love watching America's Next Top Model. As a kid, I used to love watching it. And
It all starts there, right?
I used to watch it, and then I actually enjoyed it as a kid. And I used to I wanted to be a model at that age. And then as I got older, I grew out of it in a sense where I wasn't very comfortable in front of the camera. So I started being behind the camera. So when I was a teenager, I picked up photography for a bit, and I was the one snapping photos of everyone. I was like, that's one way to hide, to make sure I won't be in front of the camera. So I make sure the only way I won't be in front of the camera is I'm the one taking the photos. So
Yeah, relatable. It took me 6 ticks for the intro just now.
yeah, so I used to do that a lot, and it took me a while because I didn't have that confidence to be in front of the camera, because I guess it came a lot from a lot of not only girls, I think boys go through this during their teenage years. A lot of self-esteem issues. They don't know how to love themselves. I wouldn't say this is only for girls. I know teenage boys who go through this too, because you go through this change in your body that society puts so much pressure on you with the media and everything like that you need to look a certain way, that you don't think yourself as you don't feel like you look handsome enough or you look beautiful enough. So you're always seeking flaws in yourself. And I think that was one of the huge things that made me not do modeling for the longest time. The only modeling that I was comfortable enough in doing was anything related with sports, because that was the only thing I was confident in. It was like, sports, yeah, I can do that. You want me to play badminton? I can play badminton. And I realized, like, over time, as I reflected, that the fear was mainly not because of outside, it was my own. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the self-esteem. The only reason why, like I said, I did sports shoots was because I felt comfortable in sports. I had the confidence in sports. Like, when it came to fitness, when it came to sports, I was like, I know my shit, basically. Like, I know what I'm doing. Over time, of course, MMA gave me a lot of my confidence, and I started to love myself way more. And that gave me a lot of confidence to stand in front of the camera and actually enjoy it. Because for once, I was able to see the beauty in myself. And whenever I looked at my photos, it was not of, but yes, of course, I still see the flaws, but it was more of, was I able to bring out the concept of the photographer, or was I able to make sure that I brought out the curves that were necessary? That honestly felt, modeling, if done right, I feel like can be very empowering. Like, my first boudoir shoot with fluffy fingers, the photos weren't perfect. Like, for me, I like things to be perfect, but it was my first time, so I understand that. But
Wait, was it fluffy fingers or was it happy fingers?
Fluffy fingers. I was supposed to shoot with happy fingers next month.
Oh, okay.
But
Oh, I really lost track of all the boudoir photographers out there. But shout out to these guys. They do amazing work. Check them out.
Fluffy really brought me out of my shell, because I always saw myself as a fitness person. So fitness shoots, anything to do with sport shoots, I would go and try for casting and all this kind of thing. Anything outside of that, I would never try. I was just like, no way I'm going to get it. And I remember him approaching me and just like, would you like to collaborate with me and do a shoot? And I was just like, you're a boudoir photographer. Why would you ask me? I was just so confused. I was like, why are you asking me? Like, you see my profile. It's literally MMA, all sports, and all these kinds of things. And he was like, because I can see a different side of you that maybe we can explore. And after, shooting with him and all that, and then seeing the photos, I was just like, wow. Like, I felt like I loved myself so much more. I felt so much more empowered. I was like, I did not realize I could look like this, or I could feel something like this. And that really actually opened the doors for me to other things, to explore different types of modeling that I thought like it was close to me before, because I felt like I can't do it. And I learned like that you can do anything. It's just that you have to start getting out of your comfort zone. And when I started getting out of that comfort zone, starting with Fluffy, it started to get more easier, because I started not being so scared. It was just like, this music makes me feel like this, so this is how I'm going to portray it. that sort of thing. Because I love to listen to music when I do shoots. I can't have it silent. It's just too weird. So I would play music. I would listen to the music, and the music would get me into the mood for the shoots, and that made me feel more relaxed. And everything just usually just goes well from there. And having that is just like wonderful. I think that's one of the things that makes me like even now just to keep modeling and working with so many different photographers, because I have no other time. I have more time than necessary at this point.
I think generally, I think generally there's a lot of negative stigma with withdrawal photographers out there, but I think a lot of people don't understand how much effort and work is put into it, because I feel like you can't create good images if the photographer doesn't direct the model well. Because obviously because the models are definitely the faces of the image, but it's also how the photographer directs the model that creates a stunning image. It's not something that we can do. It's not something that's in our genre, but I've always realized that there's so much more to it. Like just generally any sort of photography, but withdrawal photography in its own is quite an art. It's really how the photographer wants to portray a certain image or a certain emotion in that picture, and it's really important that they direct you well enough to do it.
I agree, because boudoir, because of that, I started really looking into it, and it can easily go awry. Like if you have the wrong photographer from an art, it will just look plain cheap. It will look plain cheap because the girl is basically like half naked in front of you, in lingerie or in whatever it is to portray the concept. But if the way it's done is not right in a sense, it's just gonna look very horrible. It's gonna look cheap. So when you have a good photographer that's literally doing this because he loves that art concept, then it would always come out beautiful.
100%.
Because I've seen some boudoir photographers, and I'm looking at their work going like,
No, that's the thing. That's the thing. I think some of these photographers who never really studied about boudoir photography, and they just decided to do it because it's an opportunity. They take it as an opportunity for them to be able to have models in lingerie, which is really the reason why it spoils the market for a lot of proper and good boudoir photographers. And it's the same thing as well for any sort of photography or videography out there. You have people who spend time to learn about the art, to learn about the craft, but then you have these photographers or videographers who are just like, okay, I have a camera and I want to do this, and then they start charging like really cheap outside, and then it just spoils the market for everyone else. So it's definitely the same reasoning, and I think there are really a lot of good photographers, boudoir photographers as well, especially, but it's just that because of the people who spoil it is the one that makes that creates all this negative stigma surrounding it,
definitely.
Thank you so much, Colleen, for joining us. I think that was a super insightful conversation that we had with her, and I really enjoyed it. I think the team and myself, we learned so much more about Colleen and being a mixed martial artist as well, so being an athlete and a model. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys really took into account what you guys have listened and heard. Stay tuned for the next episode. And Andrea, would you like to take this opportunity?
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a lot of those thumbs up, and drop us a comment wherever you're watching this, on YouTube or on Instagram. I don't know where this is going to be up. Maybe drop a comment about veganism. Maybe, are you going to be a vegan? Am I going to be a vegan? Is Nick going to be a vegan? Is anyone going to be a vegan? Let me know in the comments down below.
I think I'm going to be a vegan, but I love my meat, so thank you so much, guys.
See you.
Cheers. See you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.